the board.
Right.
But there are other things that factor in the relationship. Because if you're from up north and you're not from the south and you don't understand Southern hospitality, if you don't understand that you speak to any and everybody, it doesn't matter. If people have that white is right mentality, you don't know what the mentality people might have.
Correct.
And that's embedded in them. They may not tell you or show you, but some people really have that. And then when y'all have that argument or whatever else, you start to realize like, hey, there's something bigger and greater than us, i.e. the kids.
Mm-hmm.
And then someone else will be like, well, no, it should be about us.
Yeah.
So it all depends on, your background. Like, for an example, like you said in a couple episodes before about you being with your grandparents, right?
Correct.
So your grandparents raising you will be different from, because of different generation. Your mindset is different from those that was just raised by their parent.
Exactly.
So I think there's that, and that's why I'm saying there's too many variables, one way or the other. Now, I don't take up too much time, but in reference to even the mother having the mentality of, hey, I'm the father also, again, because of black women having to be strong based off of our United States history of families being separated. So the women had to have that mentality of being strong for the children one way or the other. And then until their children were taken away or whatever else, at that time, if you take a look at someone like Harriet Tubman, I mean, she was fearless, right?
Right.
So I think that there's a part where women are strong without even have to say, I don't need no man to do this. Well, you're already strong. I don't need to hear you tell me that because I already think that you are.
Yeah, but the piggyback off of this, our women, the black women of our race, it is in our DNA for our women to be strong.
Right.
Because it ain't like that we just, slavery just enhanced the fact that our women were strong.
Right.
Because during the time of slavery, the white slave master would destroy the men in front of the women,
right,
to degrade or to show them that your man ain't nothing. But they showed them that it doesn't matter if our man is nothing. So that mentality has always been. It's just been there in a positive light early on. Somewhere along the line, it switched.
Mm-hmm.
It became a battle cry. That I don't need you. I don't have to have you. I can do all this by myself because I am strong. Yes, you are, black woman. Yes, you are, black queens. Yes, you are. You're very strong. You're very talented. You're very smart. You're very educated. You can withstand as anything that you want to withstand. But you must have your king by your side. And he must have you by his side.
Now, that king doesn't necessarily have to live in the house with you.
Correct.
And that king or queen can support the family not being in the house and showing a type of bond for the child as you're raising them up.
Correct. See, the understanding and the maturity and the intellect of your mind shows that you two can be able to do this. You can co-parent without being cohabitable,
right,
or living with each other.
Right.
So this can be done. It's just that as my co-host said, some females do take certain things to the extreme. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that me personally, I would just like for you to acknowledge that and accept that and change that. And there's nothing wrong with you saying that, okay, you're the father and the mother. Fine. All right. That's great. You're only doing what you're supposed to do. You're only doing the job that you were supposed to do as a strong black woman.
And just I'm sorry, real quick. I think in that, not just the job that you're supposed to do. I think it's just that you're handling the cards you were dealt.
True.
You get what I mean? Because again, my opinion, you're not the father, quote unquote, or that other companion in that relationship. It wasn't. I mean, you didn't just get up one day and just hatch it. Right. And you had a whole lot of eggs sitting in one basket somewhere, like a snake or something like that. So it does take two. And even if you take a look at as Arnold stated earlier about just the natural order of things, you have out in the wild, you have the king being the lion, then you have the lionesses. The king, he kind of seemed kind of lazy. That lion seemed like he kind of lazy. But what does he do? He rules over and does what he needs to do, training people to training the cubs to hunt a little bit, not as much as the lionesses, but he has his role, protector and everything else. Right. So it's actually shown in the wild exactly what we are. And we had to teach them how to do stuff, right? From Adam and Eve, right?
And we're not saying that one role is more important than the other.
No, not at all.
Together, these roles work.
Right.
It's just that you may understand your role. You understand your place. Not your place. That's a bad term. Somebody say that. But understand the role that is laid out for you to play.
Yeah.
Now, are there some queens that are kings? Yeah, sure, it happens. It has happened throughout history.
And are there some kings that are queens?
Yeah. It happens. But what we're trying to do here at the Neighbors Podcast is to show the relationship and how this affects us as a community. It affects us as neighbors in our neighborhoods. Because think about this. You and your spouse or you and your significant other are constantly arguing, and your children are hearing this stuff, and your children are getting fed up, and they become belligerent and mad and upset. And what do? They go outside and start tearing up stuff in the neighborhood. Or they may kick down old poor Mrs. Jones' door and rob her. Yeah. Or they might beat up little Joey down the street because Joey doesn't fit their criteria of what they think Joey's supposed to be. This all stems from the home. And this is what we're trying to convey over to.
And not just the situations of that child acting out, but when you have a child who self-confidence is not very high, and as soon as they get teased, they come home and commit suicide.
Correct.
So there are so many different levels to this building up the child, loving on the child, and building up our community as a whole. Because now when you have an 11-year-old young man who kills himself because he's teased in school because of something that he's doing that he loves to do, and he's teased, where's the support? That doesn't mean that he wasn't getting love at home, but it makes you wonder sometimes what else is going on. So, and sometimes those situations like that is not always explained. It's not always viewed or looked upon. So as we move forward as a community, let's make sure that, one, we love ourselves. Two, we try to love our spouse, significant other as much as we can. If we can't, let's most definitely continue to love on our children and show them that they, that term, that they are the future. It's not just some fly-by-night phrase, because they are. Especially when it's time for you to, as you get older and you and them pull up adult diapers and you riding around in a wheelchair, you gonna want that child to take care of you, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, just try to continue to be that positive influence in that child's life, one way or another, as much as you can.
Correct.
And then the other part of that too, you can't always dictate how the child is going to respond, because of whatever other influences they may have. But as long as you could, end of the day, when you go to sleep, like I tried, that's it.
That's it. It's as long as, regardless if the parents are together, separated, but as long as you're in the child's life and you're raising the child the correct way, if you're providing a well home for the child, a safe environment for the child, good education for the child, because that's what we hope for. We hope for our children to do better than us.
Right. And
they can't do better than us if we continue to be messed up and going through what we're going through and doing the things that we do, Right. So at the beginning, we're at the beginning of our show, we were talking about should people divorce and still raise their children? Yeah, I mean, if you guys feel like you need to be away from each other or separate from each other, yes, because this only helps to strengthen your family bond with your children. But you guys must discuss this. You can't just be one-sided. You know, you can't just, people fall out of love. This happens.
Right.
People do, and I'm not going to say that people get tired of each other. It's just that things change over time.
Yes.
Nothing stays the same. Sometimes it's for the good, sometimes it's for the bad. But the whole thing is that you acknowledge it, assess it, and try to work it out through the best way you can by the only means that you know how.
Right.
So I hope that this answers the person's question that DM us about the topic of should we divorce and still raise our children. So like I said, yes, you guys, if you choose the divorce, that's your decision. But make sure that you understand and go through all the variables, go over everything, because you're not just divorcing you have somebody else you have to worry about, depending on how many children that you have.
Yeah. So stay encouraged and just remember that you're blessed.
Yes.
Overall, that you're able to sit down and maybe hear this and have that moment of clarity maybe, and understand that no matter what goes on, really your child's still going to look up to you.
Of course.
They might be mad initially like anybody else would be, but you're still blessed. And as long as you open up your eyes the next day, you still have another chance to make a difference.
Right.
So we here at the Neighbors Podcast, we love y'all. We thank y'all. Continue to send us messages about this.
Please.
And we'll continue to talk about these topics that are not so easy to just laugh and joke about. I know we talk about it as if we're okay and things like that, but
some of these subjects we're there because we went through this ourselves, so we know what we're talking about when it comes to certain things,
right?
Because we have experienced this, So I just want to say that thank you for the neighbor that sent that in, and like I say, I don't believe in calling nobody followers of the Neighbors Podcast. You're all our neighbors. And you all live in our neighborhood. I don't care where you at, and it's wherever you hear our voice at, you're part of our neighborhood. You're my neighbor. And with that said, I just want to say that just remember, I believe the children are the future. Teach them well and let them lead the way.
Show them all the beauty they possess inside.
Give them a strength.
Give them the strength?
Strength.
Of pride to make it
sense. Excuse me, sorry. But you guys get the gist. Thank you, y'all. Everybody have a blessed week. Continue to listen to us on all platforms. Continue to follow us on all social media outlets, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. And please DM us. Send us and don't forget to rep your neighborhood on Fridays, y'all.
Rep your hood.
We got a couple. I just haven't been posting them, but, when I get enough, I'm going to put them all up, and we're going to put them up on Rep Your Neighborhood Fridays, y'all.
All right.
Thank you, y'all. Everybody have a blessed week.
And peace.
Peace.
You are the agent, and we look for change. You conquered the pressure, and you did not fall, but you are a diamond and what's more than gold.